Dad moves in, soon-to-be bride gets pregnant, and she demands I leave the house because she needs my room. I tell her, lady, I own the house. Sup, Reddit. My dad's gold-digging fiancée moved in with her two devil spawn. After she announced her pregnancy, she tried to kick me out of my own house. Her smirk disappeared when I told her I own the place. What followed was an absolute shit show. Here's what went down. So, this whole saga started about 9 years ago when my mom died from cancer. I, 21, male, was 12. Dad was a wreck, and nobody knew what the hell to do with me. Lucky for everyone involved, my grandparents lived just outside the city on this decent chunk of land with a house that had seen better days, but still had good bones. After Mom passed, it just made sense for me to stay put with the grandparents. Dad would come home on weekends, holidays, whatever. The house itself is solid, 4 bedrooms, a couple of bathrooms, a big kitchen, sitting on about 3 acres of land that backs up to some woods. But here's where Dad started showing his true colors. Even as a kid, I noticed he had this thing about control. Everything had to be done his way, on his timeline, with his approval. He'd show up on weekends and immediately start rearranging shit, telling Grandpa how to maintain the property properly and making decisions about my life without asking anyone. My best friend Ian lived about 10 minutes down the road, so I wasn't completely isolated. Kid's been my ride or die since we were building forts in those backwoods. Here's where it gets interesting, though. My mom was an only child. I'm an only child. When Grandma and Grandpa started declining a few years back, guess who's the only name on the will? That's right. Yours truly inherited the whole damn operation when Grandpa died. House, land, Grandpa's beat to hell pickup truck that somehow still runs, and a decent chunk of change they'd been sitting on. Dad used Mom's life insurance to renovate parts of the house over the years. But here's the thing, he acted like he was doing me some huge favor, like I should be grateful he was investing in the place. I found out about the inheritance when the lawyer called me after Grandpa's funeral. Dad was standing right there when I took that call. The look on his face when he realized I owned the house we were all living in? Not embarrassment or guilt, more like irritation, like I just complicated his life by existing. Ian was there that day helping me sort through Grandpa's tools. When Dad walked away after that phone call, Ian just looked at me and said, "So, you own the house now? Damn, Thanksgiving is going to be awkward." But we never discussed it. Dad just pretended it never happened and kept acting like he was the man of the house, making all the decisions, controlling everything from what we watched on TV to when I was allowed to have friends over. About 2 years after Mom died, Dad started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just random coffee dates and dinner meetups. Fast forward to about 6 months ago, and he drops this bomb. He's got a serious girlfriend, a 30-year-old preschool teacher named Jennifer, who comes with 2 kids under 10 and enough emotional baggage to stock a therapy practice. Jennifer's got this whole young professional mom aesthetic going on, drives a white SUV that's always spotless, wears those athleisure outfits, and has opinions about organic food that she'll share whether you ask or not. Her kids, Hunter and Paisley, because of course their names sound like a country club membership roster, are these perfectly groomed little sociopaths. The first time Dad brought her to the house, she did this thing where she walked around taking mental notes, like, this needs work and it needs replacing notes. I caught her opening cabinets and checking expiration dates on stuff in the pantry. Your grandmother had such interesting taste, she said, running her finger along the vintage wallpaper. It's so authentic. Very lived in. The way she said lived in made it sound like a polite way of saying trashy, but Dad just ate it up. Jennifer has such great design sense, he said like she just complimented the Sistine Chapel. She's got so many ideas for improvements. Her kids were even worse than she was. Hunter, who's maybe 8, spent the entire visit touching everything he wasn't supposed to touch while maintaining perfect eye contact. Paisley, the 6-year-old, accidentally knocked over Grandma's favorite plant and then looked at me like it was my fault for putting it where she could reach it. When I mentioned the plant, Jennifer just laughed. Oh, kids will be kids. They're just excited to be in such a big house. They're not used to having so much space to explore. Ian came by that evening and caught the tail end of their visit. After they left, he looked around the living room where Jennifer had repositioned some of Grandma's throw pillows. Well, she seems fun, he said. Nothing says I'm definitely not planning to redecorate your entire life like rearranging furniture on the first visit. But Dad was smitten. Started spending more money on dates, bought new clothes, got his teeth whitened, classic midlife crisis stuff, except instead of buying a motorcycle, he'd found himself a ready-made family that came with built-in validation. Jennifer played it perfectly, asking his opinion on everything, deferring to his wisdom, letting him feel like the big, strong provider. 3 months in, she's practically moved in. Her stuff starts showing up in Dad's bathroom. Her car is in the driveway more than it's at her apartment. Hunter and Paisley have claimed the guest room like they're planning to stay forever. And the kids, Jesus Christ, the kids, they went from perfectly behaved little angels to absolute demons the second they got comfortable. Hunter would accidentally break my stuff and then act confused when I got mad. Paisley would go through my room when I wasn't home and mess with my things, then deny everything when confronted. Whenever I complained, she would give me this wounded look and suggest that maybe I wasn't used to having kids around. Dad naturally took her side every time, telling me they're just kids and to cut them some slack. By month 4, she wasn't even pretending anymore. She'd gone from grateful guest to woman of the house faster than you could say gold digger. It started small, rearranging the living room furniture while Dad was at work, then acting like it had always been that way, replacing Grandma's dish towels with her own organic cotton ones, throwing away food she didn't approve of and replacing it with expensive organic alternatives. But the real power move was how she started treating me like I was some deadbeat nephew who'd overstayed his welcome. She started making comments about my music being too loud after 9 p.m. because the children needed their sleep and some of us had real jobs in the morning. Sweetie, could you try to keep your music down after 9 p.m.? She asked one Tuesday night while I was studying. The children need their sleep, and some of us have real jobs in the morning. Like being a college student in my own house was somehow less legitimate than teaching finger painting to toddlers. Dad just nodded along like this was perfectly reasonable. She's right, son. We need to be considerate of everyone living here. Her kids got worse, too. Hunter figured out which buttons to push and started doing it. He'd wait until I was on the phone or in the middle of something important, then start making noise or asking me stupid questions. One day he asked why I didn't have a girlfriend. And when I told him to mind his own business, he informed me that his mom said it was because I lived with my dad like a loser. Your mom says a lot of things, I told him. Most of them are bullshit. I'm telling, he yelled and ran off to find Jennifer. 5 minutes later, Dad's in my room giving me the lecture about being a good role model and watching my language around the children. Jennifer stood behind him with this wounded expression that would have won her an Oscar, explaining how inappropriate it was for me to use that kind of language with Hunter. Dad's face went red, and he demanded I apologize. For what? I asked. For telling the truth? For being disrespectful to Jennifer and setting a bad example for the kids, he said. I told him I wasn't apologizing for anything. That's when Jennifer's mask slipped for just a second. She commented how maybe it was time I started acting like part of the family instead of some entitled teenager. That night I found Paisley in my room again. This time going through my desk drawers. What are you doing here? I asked. She looked up at me with those dead shark eyes kids get when they're planning something evil. Mommy said I could look for paper for my art project. Mommy doesn't get to give permission for my room. Get out. You're mean, she said. But she was smiling when she said it. Mommy says you're just jealous because Daddy loves us more now. I escorted her out and locked my door. This kid was repeating shit her mother had said about me. Jennifer was literally poisoning her kids against me. The final straw came that Sunday when I came home from Ian's to find Jennifer had rearranged my room. My desk was in a different corner. My posters had been taken down and my bed was made with different sheets. What the fuck are you doing? I said when I found her in the hallway. Language, she said automatically. I was just organizing things a bit. Your room was starting to affect the energy of the whole house. You went into my room without permission and moved my stuff around.